right, we are back talking just about some of our innate internal defenses in this particular video. So, as you can see, we have a lot of different types of cells that are going to be part of this innate internal defense within our immune system. These cells can be found in a wide variety of places, both in the blood vessels themselves as well as out in the tissues. So that they're kind of scattered everywhere in order to be as effective as possible and able to respond to infections as quickly as possible. So, first one listed here are mast cells and basophils. So these are both part of our inflammatory response. And so both of these types of cells are going to produce different chemicals that are going to trigger a lot of inflammation and stuff like that. So mast cells are most well known for releasing histamines. This is very, very commonly released in allergic reactions, which is why the most common allergy medications out there are antihistamines, is because that's what's being released in high quantities during those allergic reactions. But this also gets released in cases of injury as well as infections with pathogens, and not just these actually harmless substances that our immune system has decided are actually harmful, which is why it reacts the way it does. Next thing listed are natural killer cells. And so their name is pretty self-explanatory there. They are going to help kill different things. And one special thing that natural killer cells do, or NK cells is what they're sometimes called, is they have the ability to induce something called apoptosis. And apoptosis is what's called programmed cell death. And so all cells in our body are going to undergo apoptosis at the end of their lifespan. They basically just hit a certain point in time in their lifespan and recognize that they are no longer able to replicate healthily and effectively. And so they will just kind of disintegrate and degrade themselves, or signal to a different type of immune cell that they need to become phagocytized, which I'll talk about in just a moment here. And kind of get rid of them, get those out of circulation, out of the body tissues, recycle whatever can be recycled, and get those cells out of the body. So NK cells are able to actually trigger that to happen prematurely in other cells of the body, particularly ones infected with bacteria and viruses. So the NK cells are able to recognize which other types of cells are infected. We're not really sure how they can recognize it, but they can. And then they will send out a chemical signal and start that self-destruction process. So ideally, this is done before the virus or bacteria has been able to replicate and release copies out of that initially infected cell that have gotten out and been able to infect other cells. That doesn't always happen, but that's the ideal scenario, is to get those cells to self-destruct before those pathogens can replicate and produce more copies of themselves, which could infect other cells down the road. And so this is, again, part of that innate internal response. Also, to an extent, early on adaptive responses, but mostly that innate response. Unfortunately, this is not fully effective, like I said, at controlling pathogen growth, but it does help slow things down so that the adaptive immune system has a chance to ramp up and start dealing with that infection before it has completely overwhelmed the innate immune defenses. Our next thing listed here is not a cell, but this is something called the complement system. This is a bunch of signaling chemicals that get released and direct different cells to the site of infection. and signal to the adaptive immune response, our lymphocytes, that they need to start gearing up to fight off a particular pathogen and stuff like that. There are a lot of different chemicals that make up the complement system, as well as other inflammatory responses in this particular immune response. But that complement system is really, really important. And so this is going to release a lot of different signaling molecules again. This is also partially where our fever response comes from, is some of these chemicals are going to signal that our body temperature starts heating up, because most human pathogens cannot survive at higher temperatures in the body. Obviously, we can't either at higher temperatures for especially long periods of time, but that is going to end up being part of this immune response, this innate immune response. And so basically, most of the symptoms that we get from any particular infection, stuffy nose, runny nose, the fever, body aches, anything like that, is actually due to all of the chemicals produced by our immune system as a response to those infected cells, because we really need all of the signaling possible. We want to try to kill those pathogens off as quickly as possible. So your symptoms are due to chemicals produced by your immune system. And then our last set of these internal defenses are a group of cells known as phagocytes. So this includes monocytes, neutrophils, and macrophages primarily. And so a cell that is going to undergo phagocytosis, or a phagocyte, this is a cell that's able to surround and engulf either a particle or an entire cell. So it's basically a cell eating another cell or some sort of debris or something like that to gather it up inside of the cell. And then they have special chemicals inside of them that are able to destroy a lot of different pathogens and stuff like that. So this is also going to help clear out old debris from injured tissues and stuff like that. So they are going to function outside of just a pathogenic infection. But a lot of these do come into play in the pathogen response as well. So lots of these cells have that ability, as you can see. And so this is a really important part of our immune response, and taking care of pathogens, taking care of damaged and dying tissue and stuff like that, because we don't want those sitting around, obviously. And so something that happens in some of these cells is that they will phagocytize an infected cell or something like that, and then fuse it with those lysosomes, if you remember that from very early on in the semester when we just talked about the general body cell. So they're going to fuse with those lysosomes, which have those digestive enzymes, and those enzymes are going to be able to kill off most pathogens and break down any other types of debris or tissue or anything like that. There are some pathogens that are able to evade that response. Mycobacterium tuberculosis is one of them. So that's the bacteria that causes TB. And so it's actually pretty resistant to those enzymes and can be really difficult to clear out of the body from that particular method of attack. Macrophages specifically, these are very irregularly shaped phagocytes. They are very versatile. They can do a lot of different things in the body. So they can move all around through the tissues, squeezing through capillaries and stuff like that. And so they are actually going to participate in both innate and adaptive immunity. I can't talk today, clearly. So they can cooperate with our lymphocytes down here in that adaptive immune response to help make sure this immune response, this adaptive response, is getting up and going quickly and effectively. And so they're going to be found all over the body in all sorts of different tissues. The name of these cells can vary a little bit depending on the tissues they are found in. but they are still macrophages at their core. They are first responders in most of our lymphatic tissue, so in the lymph nodes and stuff like that. A cell type not listed here are dendritic cells. They're very similar to macrophages, but are branched out a lot further. So they have more of these little arm-like projections and stuff like that. And these are found primarily in epithelial tissue specifically. So skin and mucous membranes and stuff like that. So they're really good surveillance cells to have in those particular tissues. All right, we are going to continue talking about our adaptive immunity in the next video. So we'll go into a bit more detail about our T and B lymphocytes as well as antigen presenting cells.